In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the archaic technology known as frames. The purpose of the lesson is to understand the uses of frames, which are still used from time to time. It's also important to know that frames have a number of disadvantages that we're going to demonstrate as well. Here I have an example of a classic layout, which is composed of 3 views. On top is a yellow frame, where the menu is usually located. In the middle there's a white content frame, and at the bottom a blue frame containing the footer of the page. We're not going to concern ourselves with the in-depth details of the code in this lesson. There's no reason to go into detail about something with close to no practical applications, so I'm just going to give a brief description of how the code works. For starters, we should notice the body element is missing in the code. That's because it's incompatible with the frameset element. Because of the frames, I also had to modify the header of the page so that my code would remain valid. The definition of the frame is stored in a standalone document and describes the content of each page viewed inside the frame. There's a link to the top page, that is, page 2. Here the main content page is designated as page 1 and the footer page as page 3. We'll also insert code for browsers that do not support frames. This is just a formality. Such browsers are not common anymore. Keep in mind that we can use the body element here. I'm going to maximize the page to show some of the disadvantages of frames. As we have said, everything being displayed in the browser is now stored in 4 files. Notice the file named frameset, where the complete layout is defined. The remaining 3 files are individual content pages. Now I'd like to demonstrate the main drawback of the whole frame concept. I'll go to Google and enter My Perfect Website. I'll submit my query. Of course, my page is not among the top results, so I'm going to use a little editing trick to show you something. Clicking on the first result, I find myself on Our Content page. Can you see the main disadvantage? Only the main part of the page has been displayed without the top navigational part or the footer. Naturally, this may differ depending on the situation. Sometimes search engines can cope, sometimes they can't. Now we're going to return to our maximized page with frames so I can demonstrate some further complications that may occur. I may want to print the page out. Which one of the frames will get printed? Will they all be printed, or just some of them? This is certainly a browser-dependent behavior, but it is an unnecessary complication for the user. Some problems may arise if we attempt to save the page to disk. There are basically 3 HTML documents on the screen in front of us. Which one of them will get saved? And what if I want to bookmark the page? A similar situation again. The concrete behavior depends on how the browser can cope. Certainly, frames mean nothing but problems for the user. Barring one exception, frames should not really be used today. The exception to the rule is the inline frame, or iframe, which we'll introduce in our next lesson. Using the iframe, we can insert, for example, maps or YouTube videos into our pages. I hope you're having a good day, and I look forward to seeing you at the next lesson.